Okay.
Thank you
Well,
very
it's
much.
recording. I guess we can start.
We can start. Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully you can all see us, and I don't know how many we can see. I think it says there are 10 people in online at the moment. So I don't know how it counts us if we're kind of,
We're
one or
one.
all separate. We're one.
Just one.
Okay, so that's, oh, there we go. Now we can see it. All right. So again, I'm Jack Walsh, and I'm co-chair of the committee. So why don't we go around and do introductions?
So I'm Aaron Budris from Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments. This is our first attempt at getting back into the meeting room here and having an in-person meeting. So we'll see how it works out. So welcome everyone online and everybody that's here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Judy Mancini with the City of Waterbury.
Tour guide for the day.
Yeah, tour guide. for the day.
That's right. Paul Benevich, Town Engineer, Watertown.
Okay, and let's see. Start, well, I guess everyone's screen is different, so SLR. I can't,
Good morning, it's Tony Ciriello representing the town of Watertown. Thank you.
okay. Rich Donovan,
Good morning, Rich Donovan with NVCOG.
okay. Joshua,
Morning, everyone. Josh Iannotti with VHB.
okay. Helen? Helen, if you're there,
She has her, she's muted.
Helen Lung with the town of Oxford.
Kevin,
Kevin Zach of the Naugatuck River Revival Group.
okay, and we've got one other person trying to connect, so we'll catch up when we get there. And again, hopefully everyone has the agenda. We've got a lot to go through. The COG's done some great work on management, trail management, and a lot of other things going on at the moment. So we're going to start with the trail operations management and maintenance guide. Hopefully you've all had a chance to read it. I think it's pretty comprehensive. Gives anyone a pretty good overview of what it takes to get going on this and some of the issues you face and construction and other issues. So Aaron, you want?
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I'll just, we talked quite a bit about this at the last meeting, but I think I'll just go through quickly and sort of touch on what's in this this guide and hopefully have a discussion with all of you about, I mean, this is a draft right now. We really want input so that we can make this as useful as possible for all of you. So, I'd really like to have a discussion afterwards about, what we might be missing, what we might have misrepresented, or, what you would like to see included. So yeah, we drafted this over the last few months with input that you all provided at the last meeting. And the goal is really to help municipalities with decision making. As you're building the trail, what to include, what other towns along the trail have included, and to really help coordinate sort of a seamless user experience. When this 40-mile trail is all done, we'd really like it to feel like a single trail, even though each of the towns is going to have its own sort of stamp on it and it's their own rules and regulations as well. But we want everyone to be thinking about how they can make it as similar as possible to the other trails as well. So we really focused on design and amenity considerations when you're building the trail. Once the trail's done, there's information here about the types of maintenance that these trails typically need, and then also a little discussion about rules and regulations, sort of some best practices that we've gathered from other trail organizations around the country. So starting with the design and amenity considerations, there's information in here about trail surface. There's no requirement that this trail be paved. There might be sections that might be better suited to be stone dust, but there's sort of the pros and cons are listed in here. There's information about the design standards that are out there for trails that you should all probably be following. Some information about the accessibility of trails, the ADA requirements, and I can't remember what UFAS, it's like a federal accessibility standards that federally funded projects will need to follow. You all were very interested in bridges last meeting, so I tried to put as much information in there about the types of bridges and bridge maintenance as well. And then sort of pointing people back to our uniform signage and wayfinding design manual that we completed a few years ago. And then we had a lot of questions from some towns as they're building, what should be included? Should we install bathrooms? Should we not? So there's information about that as well. Sort of the 3 Bs that when we're doing our economic study and in the Connecticut Trail Census, when we ask trail users about their trail experience, they all want bathrooms, benches, and bike racks, basically. The sort of the really important things to them are things that make their experience better. So there's information about all of that, and also about lighting. And for all of these, we tried to, point readers to more information as well. So there's a lot of links in here. When we do finalize this, it'll be, we'll clean it up and format it and have, links to everything, and maybe also publish an online guide as well, so that it'll be easier to find that stuff. Last time there was some discussion about, trail, people developing trails in their towns wanting to know what other sections of trails look like and what amenities or what types of amenities, what types of trash receptacles or fences or all of that were included. So we went out and took photos of all of your trails that are open already, and some trails that are not on the Greenway, but nearby, to sort of show what has been used out there. So everything's sort of similar already. There's already some common themes. So like I said, we're not trying to say that you need to use these types of lights or benches or whatever, but to just give you an idea of what's already out there and how it already looks. So we did that for benches, bike racks, bridges, comfort stations, fencing, lighting, posted rules, trash receptacles, and miscellaneous. So where there's, in Ansonia, they have some kind of neat concrete stamping and some really a cool little shelter over their benches. So we included pictures of those too. And then, we looked at maintenance considerations. So those regular maintenance issues that have to be done on an ongoing basis, like litter removal and trash collection, keeping up those amenities. There's a discussion about winter maintenance. And I know this is sort of one of the hot button issues about whether or not to clear snow in the winter. So we have the sort of the pros and cons of both of those decisions in there. And then long-term maintenance issues, how long the surface is going to last. Derby just did had to replace all of their fencing after, I don't know how many years it was, Jack, but
Just over 10, 12.
so things to think about as you're constructing it as well. Understanding what those maintenance issues are going to be down the road. And then we looked at operations and management. So really rules and regulations and enforcement of those rules. So e-bikes and e-assist vehicles are really, starting to become a lot more prevalent right now. So, we had a long discussion last time about how, whether or not to allow those uses on the trail. So there's information about that. We dug up some of the laws that are out there. So Connecticut does allow class 1 and class 2 e-bikes, but not class 3 e-bikes. Class 3 e-bikes go a little bit faster and they have a throttle. Class 1 and 2 are below 20 miles an hour. So those are allowed on multi-use trails in Connecticut, but towns can restrict those if they wish. So we provided as much information as we could find about that. The hours of operation as well, most trails are dawn till dusk, but, that sort of hinders the commuter use on those trails, especially in the winter when, it gets dark at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock even. If the trail closes at dusk and you have to work till 5 and you're using the trail to get back, you're, breaking the rules. So, we have information about, all those considerations to think about when you're making those decisions. And then speed, pets is another hot button issue on the Greenway, but we tried to cover all of those in here. And then we provided a sort of proposed starting point for rules and regulations on the trail. And again, each municipality is really free to make their own decisions and post their own rules, but we thought it would be good to have at least sort of a common starting point. So, I think I'll leave this up. I think that was my last slide on this. So I think I'll leave this slide up and we can maybe discuss, I think the rules and regulations will probably be what everybody wants to talk about, but any of this and anything in the manual you guys want to talk about, please, really want to hear what you all think.
Well, let's ask for comments. So, yeah, I thought it was an excellent job. I think it covered just about anything that could come up. And, it's not lecturing either, just saying, hey, these are options out there. So I thought it had the right tone to it and it was very comprehensive. So that's my feedback. Anyone else?
I know for us in Waterbury, when we're right in the middle of it, it helps a lot to see with the photos and of what everyone else is doing. I mean, to your point, Aaron, it doesn't have to be uniform, but there's got to be some sameness to it. So it's a big help. I thought it was great. That was really good.
Nothing to add. I agree. It's pretty comprehensive. Not pretty. It is comprehensive. They get a chance to read every last word, but it's, Aaron said, it's well done.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is we already did the signage guide, so that's out there as well as a great resource. So the only thing that I don't know if we want to add or not would be contact information for the so-called trail managers. So if they wanted to talk to somebody who's already
Good
managing
idea.
it, they might do it. But other than that, I can't think of anything else.
We're working on the signage in Waterbury and we're including something along those lines. If you need to reach out to someone in a number where you can speak to someone, I think that helps a lot.
Anyone online want to comment? Well, hearing none, I'll take that as a vote of confidence. I don't, do we need a motion to?
So I think what we'll do is we'll format this and maybe bring it back to the next meeting to be endorsed.
Okay.
If that's good. So
Yeah.
I know I want to get all of the stuff that Waterbury is building right now in here. So, over the next few months, we'll hopefully be able to get pictures of some of that stuff. And then, yeah, great. And if anybody, has comments between now and then, let me know and, we'll definitely get them included.
Good job, Aaron. Good
Thanks.
job.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Great. Very good.
Okay, why don't we move on to project updates? Because there is quite a bit of stuff going on.
Yeah, so.
Do you want to start? You're.
Yeah, so Waterbury, we're moving along. We are 281 calendar days used on our project. It's a year project. We're 77% to substantial completion. It's moving along well. Excuse me. We've experienced, I think, which many people have, some supply chain, supply chain issues that may push out our substantial completion till later in the year. But the project should be mostly done by the end of the year, not open to the public until we can get final, believe it or not, it's electrical components that are holding up the whole thing for traffic signals and
Yeah,
for
just
meter
like-
boxes.
yeah.
So, but other than that, it's moving along well. Excuse me, construction on the park is going well.
And what's the total distance of this phase?
I was just gonna ask.
2.1 mile
Okay,
phase of.
that's a
the
good
Greenway.
start.
Yeah,
And at the end, the total would be over 6 miles for all the phases if they ever get done?
yes, I believe so, yes. So, and the city has applied for federal funding to continue the Greenway. So we'll see. I guess it was Tiger before. Thank you. very
Yeah,
much.
so we'll be talking about that in a minute.
Yeah,
too, so.
yeah. So we're hoping to move forward with that, but our project is plugging along, and you guys will, I hope you'll be joining us to take a little walk on it. So
Absolutely.
great.
Jack, I think it's going to be 7 miles.
7, okay,
7.1, actually.
good. All right, moving on, Sonia Riverwalk, they've had one side of the river open, well, I don't know how many years now, 7 or 8. And the second side, opposite side of the river is now open, even though there hasn't been a grand opening, nothing official, but the trail is open. I've walked it. And I think what's interesting is that they did put not only benches on the new side, but they've got the coverings in there and talked about.
Yeah, there's a picture of them on the screen. They're pretty nice.
Yeah, they did a great job with that. And I think there were 2 of them out there on that section. But they're not finished with that section yet because the entrance on the new side is supposed to be a structure that's supposed to be a lighthouse. I don't know where that stands,
I don't know.
The base of it is there, but the construction moving up isn't there. And they've also got that concrete molding, a compass into the ground, which is nice. And that's it in there. So I haven't seen many people using it so far. And they do allow dogs on their site. So, they've come a long way, but it'd be nice if we could coordinate some grand openings of all these things with the whole committee getting involved. So.
Yeah, certainly. And it's kind of neat because now there's with sidewalks, there's a loop now. So you can go up the west side of the river, across the bridge, and go down on the east side.
Right.
And make the crossing at to Division Street on the bridge there on the sidewalk. So.
Yeah, now they have to boost their usage, and they do have more parking because I guess Target is letting them use the parking lot. It's probably not signed, but there is a nice sized parking lot right there, and certainly Target never completely fills that parking lot.
Right, that's a huge parking lot.
Yeah, so I think they get the advantage, just like Derby has the advantage of the parking that isn't the city's parking, but it's BJ's next door. So
I noticed that they posted signs though, the BJ's.
they don't enforce
enforce
it though. Those appeared about a year and a half ago. And I don't know why they put them up because,
I don't know anyone who would enforce something like that.
and anyone who gets stopped will say, well, I'm on my way there anyway. So,
Right.
so I think it's been good for them. I think they get a lot of extra business from people on the trail. So particularly the gas station. That gas station is always mobbed.
Especially now, trying to save a penny anywhere you can.
All right, so Ansonia, the routing study in Ansonia.
So Joshua is on the line.
Hey, everyone, I can give an update on that. Yep. So the city's holding stakeholder meetings now with some local property owners where there may be some impacts. We're optimistic that we'll be able to hold a public information meeting, workshop style public information meeting in early to mid-June, probably mid-June at this point. Like I said, we're trying to get in front of the stakeholders now and complete all that coordination before the alternatives that we're looking at go public. So that's the critical path, but we're thinking early to mid-June for a public information meeting on that one. And of course, we're working on the reporting in the background.
And Josh, just quickly, a rough idea of what the proposed routes would be?
So we're looking at on-road connections, but we're trying to stay as close to the river as we can. We're also talking with Seymour about, which side of the river they'd prefer to be on. So those are all meetings that we're holding as well. But still preliminary enough because, like I said, we're not letting too much information out before we hold those meetings with the stakeholders. We want them to hear from the city first.
I would just ask if you guys just let us know about those public meetings, because I think
Yeah.
this group would like to participate probably, so.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
There's quite a bit, 2 projects going on in Derby at the moment. I could talk about, or if somebody else wants to talk, I don't know.
I know a little bit.
Yeah.
Mark was gonna come in, I'm not sure, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there are 2 parts, the Derby Shelton Bridge, that the reconstruction or renovation that started over a year ago. They paused a little bit during the winter, but it's a very complex project. Not so much because of the bridge, but the utility work that had to be done. It's just incredible. I know it's costing us some money with WPCA because we have to pay some new engineering costs because of the work that UI did that doesn't match up with the sewer. So, Mark, we're just starting to talk about Derby Shelton Bridge. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, don't know too whole lot, but they're under construction. A lot of the utility work is completed and they're getting ready to shift back over to the other side. We've had some complaints about potholes and things like that during construction, that we've had some meetings with DOTs, project engineers out there just to try to resolve that. So they're gonna be a little bit more aware of that. The last piece that we still have to sort of wrap up is the slip ramp that goes from the bridge down the Canal Street along the new Primrose building. We're still trying to figure out what kind of landscaping we're gonna be doing down there. City doesn't want to just have a paved ramp and walkway, so, but the department needs to maintain some access to the bridge abutments and the the structure itself, so we can't have landscaping right up against the bridge. So it's going to be more like raised beds, if you will. So we're still negotiating that. But yeah, that's in the works, and it's moving along. And then 34.
I just want to add something to the bridge project. On the Shelton side along Canal Street, they have their Riverwalk too. It's not technically part of ours, but it really is. They've got some good news there too. They've got a lot of construction going on with apartment buildings on Canal Street, and they've been able to negotiate with those putting up the buildings to extend the Riverwalk towards the dam. And they have another project that they're seeking funding for to do some work on the lock. There is a lock there built for boats to get around the Housatonic Dam. And they plan to restore that and make it more of a touristy type thing, but that would also help to extend the trail. I know I walked the Derby part and the Shelton part over to the dam, and it makes a nice extension. Instead of being a 3-mile walk, all of a sudden it becomes over a 6-mile walk. So, technically they're not part of our project, but they really are, because there are a lot of people on the Shelton side, particularly all the apartments they've got going up downtown, who view this as an amenity for Shelton. So that's very positive.
When we were working on the bridge project, I mean, the idea of closing that slip ramp to traffic and creating it a pedestrian bike space, was really key. I mean, it was all part of that original, who was it, tape design.
Yeah, our Rotary Club paid for the initial study.
Yeah, but that was always the concept, to make that connection down to the Riverwalk, because making the connections make a lot of sense. I know in conversations with John Geddes of Primrose, I mean, there's still possibility of extending it directly to the bridge along the new access road, but that's still, I think, more in the future, because that's just going to be a little bit more expensive to do. But in the meantime, the bridge project should bring a nice connection down to it.
And the lighting on it will be spectacular. It's a really nice enhancement. That's an old historic bridge built with more capacity than it needed and stronger. because of World War I and what they needed, but it's gonna look a lot better. I know at one point they put up suicide fences that really detracted from the appearance they're going, and it's
Well, they're
gonna
going
look.
back.
So.
No, and actually, currently, the bridge abutments that were out there were undersized.
Right,
They were lower than they really needed to be, so the new project will put decorative railing on it that will add safety as well as add some, aesthetics.
and then last week they seemed to be working on the railings on the upriver side, so.
Yeah.
And, along with that, the main project is Derby Route 34, which is also Main Street, and there's been incredible progress in just a couple of weeks. It's unbelievable, having lived in Derby my entire life, like most people, always been skeptical. Our Main Street is going nothing but downhill for 40 years. And everyone will always say, nothing's ever gonna happen. Well, it is happening now. And the first impact is really on the Greenway, because that's where it's starting. And we have a short-term inconvenience because we've lost the parking lot at the entrance of the Greenway along Main and Bridge Street, but believe me, it will be well worth it. So again, I'm going to defer to Mark because he knows a lot more about this than I do.
Yeah, no, I think you covered it pretty well. Obviously, the first phase is filling in the area on the south side, because the idea is they're gonna fill, put the new lanes on the south side, and then they'll move traffic over to that. So that's gonna be the sequencing. So there's gonna be a lot of fill, because I always forget whether it's 2-1 or I think it's 4-1 slope that they're gonna maintain on that side. So that slope line extends pretty far down into that area. So it's going to be a lot of material being pulled in. So
Yeah, and I think the picture that's up there, the one right in the center, gives you the best picture of what they're planning to do there. We didn't get everything that we would have wanted for the Greenway, but
yeah, and there's still, you don't know. If redevelopment takes place in that south side, there is talk about trying to, make a connection from the Greenway directly to the train station through that development. So we'll see.
and Derby also got a large grant for the railroad station,
Yes.
very large grant. That's like 2 or 3 years away.
Hopefully 2. The schedule is, the money's been awarded. They are starting work on it, but the first thing they have to do is the engineering assessment and some environmental assessments. That's supposed to take about 2 years, and so might see some construction in about 2 years.
Yeah. So complete transformation of the downtown.
And we're hoping, the NVCOG is hoping to be on any kind of steering committee or advisory committee for that. Because what we'd like to see is sort of better pedestrian connections into the station from Main Street, not, because right now you go underneath the bridge, and you get the way traffic coming out of Home Depot, it's almost like, well, let's pull, the Home Depot access sort of back so that people have to stop there, put crosswalks there as opposed to, up at Main Street. So it gives you a better feel going into the station area.
And, there is a connection with the Greenway, but I wouldn't even call it a connection with the Greenway. It's very indirect, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a tough little.
But the state's been talking about transit-oriented development for, I don't know how many years. Derby's getting this money and will be a center for transit-oriented development, because they have Route 8, Route 34, the bus center, and the train station all in one. So, if you're talking about transit-oriented development, this should be a model for it. So we'll see what happens. And Derby certainly needs it, because, it's an economically distressed community, and there should be an incentive. So a lot going on in Derby. And yet the numbers on the Greenway continue to be very, very strong, very strong. Others? Anyone else online want to talk about other projects underway or contemplated? All right.
I know Paul is there. Paul, do we want to just touch base on Crossbridge Road to Thomaston?
Well, it's more of the fun, we were turned down for the first round of recreational trails. I went to Tony, we just missed the cut, or the next project would have been funded. There was more discussion about funding in this meeting later, but I don't know if you know anything, and welcome back from Maui. Sorry you had to leave there.
Yeah, wish I could say I'm glad to be back. Thank you. Yeah, the town is pursuing potentially other funding for design. It's the design funding that we're looking for right now, not yet construction. So may have some other irons in the fire. I am curious, Aaron, we had that outreach from the DEP after we were sort of passed over, asking if we were still interested. I don't know if there's been any more movement on the rec trails program in terms of additional funding. I felt like we were sort of next up in the queue if there was going to be additional funding. Not sure if we've heard anything about that.
So there's an item in later, but I can
Okay, that's
talk a
fine.
little bit about it now. So there was $6 million for rec trails in the state budget. It's all bond funds though, so it's gonna have to be approved by the bonding commission. But I was on the Greenways Council meeting yesterday, and they sounded like they're really going to push to get the full 6 million as soon as possible. So July, I guess, is the first bonding commission meeting that they can request those funds to be released at. So I think it's probably too early to know whether or not they would award previous applications, or if there's going to be a whole another round of applications we'll have to go through. But and I know they're looking to hire Lori Gianotti's replacement very soon too. So, I think they might be in sort of a holding pattern until they sort of get everything settled there.
Right.
But it's good news that, it looks like there is probably going to be some funding, and, yours was really next in line. So
That's
that's what they told us, right?
I told that to everybody.
All right, well,
And-
maybe.
And I'll just add, Tony, as you guys know, we submitted through the congressionally directed spending requests of the Watertown to Senator Murphy's office and Johanna Hayes's office for consideration. We put it as the #1 priority for the region, primarily because it's a relatively small ask. We're just looking for the design money because we feel that if we get the design money, it gives the town the opportunity to address CONDOT's concerns about the water main, get that design done, and then that frees up the lot set money, which we already have in the work. So we didn't need the federal dollars to do the construction. We just want to get that design done because that's what the issue has been. So I don't know the timeline for the congressionally directed spending. Congress tends to operate at their own kind of schedule.
It's election year too.
Well, and that could be a bigger issue because this is part of an Appropriations Act. It's not going to be money they already have. So the projects have to be put into an appropriations bill, and don't know when they're going to take that up. You never know. They could be doing that before November, or they may wait till after that. But again, it is listed as a high priority conversations. I think the senator's office likes the trail type projects. There's a Naugatuck. We also put in one for Naugatuck, which they really like. So we'll see. But yeah, if we can get the design, really wrapped up. I know the town's doing some design, but this would allow you to, do a little bit more. And again, it's just to address CONDOT's,
Plus the railroad, the Naugatuck Railroad right there.
Yeah, I think that I think the railroad is easier to deal with because it becomes pretty simple. Separation,
Right. whether they-
setback, and
Right.
you're good to go. The water main, the big fear was, well, if we're doing construction and we, blow a hole in that water main,
Yeah, that's
that's gonna be a big issue. So, in some ways, I think the railroad is just gonna be easier. It's like, okay, fine, we'll be 25 feet away, or we'll put a 6-foot fence, something, we'll do this, we'll do that, and they'll be okay.
And we're actually very confident about the water main because we're working closely with the city. The city's been good, and Rob Langenauer at the water company's been great. They actually submitted a support letter for the project when we applied for the direct trails funding. So I'm confident that we'll work through what I call constructability details. But, quite frankly, the Water Bureau's looking forward to having a paved road that follows their water main so they can get at the thing, for inspection and repair. So I see a dual benefit there. I appreciate you taking that out of agenda order. And then just briefly, I'll say that, for Judy and Paul and others on the line, I have been having conversations with Sal about getting together the city of Waterbury and the town of Watertown to discuss routing for the next phase as it comes up the river, which side of the river, et cetera. And I know the city has, some a lot of ideas. They probably have a more of an understanding than we do at this point. At least me, Paul, I'm not sure, but we're looking forward to maybe having that meeting, with the two municipalities in the next several weeks. It's not too early to start thinking ahead on how we join up from Crossbridge Road to Waterville.
I'll work on that too, on this side here.
Should get out there before the knot week comes up too.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And along that, Tony, too, I'm sure you've looked at the new infrastructure bill, but there is a new program called Active Transportation, something.
Close enough.
There's
transportation in there.
There's too many of these programs.
I know, there are.
It does have a nice acronym that you can get started. But anyhow, that's in addition to the transportation alternatives funds. And my reading is it's really more for, trail projects that are regional in nature and maybe more expensive than TA can sort of handle. I'm looking into it a little bit more carefully to see I haven't seen any guidance on it, so it's still unsure. But again, something like Watertown, Waterbury, that section between Crossbridge down to West Main or something like that, could lend itself very nicely, because again, it's a long section, fairly expensive, that might fit into the parameters of this program. So it's something we're going to keep an eye on.
Great.
And links us to Thomaston. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay, why don't we move on? Waterbury raise grant application. Judy, you gonna do that or somebody else?
Well, you used to know anything about raise grant.
I let Mark do that. He did all the work on that. A lot of work, so.
Well, actually, Danielle did a lot. But anyhow, the raise grant is another fairly large federal aid program being funded this year by $1.5 billion nationwide. That was billion, not million. So it's a lot of money. It's a very popular program, so I'm sure they probably have gotten 400 or 500 applications. So it's very, very competitive. We put together an application between the city, Naugatuck Valley, and WDC. And the idea is to sort of extension or continuation of the Tiger grant that the city got a few years ago. And there's going to be making improvements on West Main Street, including some bike and pedestrian enhancements. And one of the key is extending the Greenway from where the phase one is going to end up to West Main Street. So it's another 2.2 mile section or so. And that's going to be the real kind of the focus of the application. So we'll see. We put in for a rec trails grant to do some of the NEPA work that was rejected. The good thing under raise from Tiger, this section was included in the Tiger but was sort of taken out because of concerns of timing. And what they did do, Congress did do with Rays, is that the timeline is much more spread out. Under Tiger, you really needed to get going in 2 years. Rays gives you 5 years basically to get started. So a lot longer to get, you know, the design, to do the environmental assessment. So we feel it has a better opportunity. For good or for bad, a lot of the emphasis area in Rays is to look at distressed communities, looking at equity issues. You know, we hit a lot of those requirements in Waterbury. You know, there's a number of distressed neighborhoods that this project goes through. So we actually, you know, feel we have maybe a good opportunity. So we'll see. But yeah, the key is that the, you know, the extension of the Greenway Trail up through along the river. So.
And the West Main Street piece of it, because Cussin O'Neill, the report is still in draft, but they did a study on improvements to West Main. So it works out nicely, especially with Jackson Street from Tiger, you know, emptying out onto West Main Street now. So we're hoping it makes a lot of sense to whomever is
Reviewing
taking a
it.
look at that, right? So we're hopeful.
Is the application already in?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it had to be in April 14th,
Yes.
April 14th.
Yeah.
Any time frame for decision?
August.
Or-
They just never say what year. No. No, we should know August of this year. They, again, when they, you know, created the guidance for Tiger, for Rays, they emphasize the need to, one, have the applications come in quickly, but two, to make the decision very quickly so they can start getting the money out to, you know, communities as quickly as possible. So, and the good news is the goal is that they're going to award at least one Rays grant per state.
Oh,
So at least if they really want to have at least one in each state be awarded. So again, I know, I'm trying to think, but there's 3 or 4 others in Connecticut that were submitted. And I think our biggest competitor is New Haven. They put in an application to sort of continue the work they're doing, you know, down along 34 and the frontage roads there. So again, it's tying into a project that's wrapping up like we are, so we'll see.
well, it's nice to have some options, so.
Yeah, and that section of Greenway is probably the most complex.
Yeah.
Definitely the most complex on this trail,
Yeah.
but maybe the
Yeah.
most complex trail.
Very well.
There's a lot of private property. There's a lot of, you know, industrial legacy brownfield sites.
It's a little daunting. It is
It's,
a little
it is.
daunting. Yeah.
So it's really going to require, you know, a big grant like this.
Yeah.
To get it done.
And like I said, and that actually works to our advantage because that's sort of the intent of Rays, right? Is to, you know, on something that sort of doesn't fit into a more traditional program. Yeah, we could use TA money, but it's, you know, you'd be using, you know, how many years worth of TA money to do this. So we need that infusion.
All right, let's move on to this whole other section on funding submissions and opportunities. Aaron, I'm
Yeah,
expecting
so-
that's probably you.
So we talked about the congressionally directed spending application that we put in with Watertown for their trail design. We also, I don't know if we helped or if we actually submitted the one for Naugatuck.
No, we submitted that as well. Naugatuck, they keep looking for money. You know, they submitted this trail section under rec trails. They submitted it under lot SIP, under TA. So we just basically dusted off all the applications and sent it into, and like I said, our conversations with Murphy's office, they like the project, so I'm hoping that they really push it, because that would be another, you know, good one. What, you know, what a priority we put on that one? We had a rank, we submitted 16 of these projects, and we had to submit.
That one was 3.
3, okay. So again, we ranked it pretty high from the regional perspective, so, you know, hopefully would be good.
Yeah, and that piece would connect the open section in Naugatuck to the section that will be open in Waterbury. That's under construction. So it was one of our priorities in the document we put out last year for the Greenway priorities.
And what we emphasized was the Amazon plant warehouses right at that point where the two trails
Just
meet.
thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, and so we really try to emphasize, oh no, this actually makes a good non-motorized connection to a fairly large employment center. And a lot of people in Waterbury don't own cars. So, so again, if they take the time to read, and we might get something.
Yeah, and then I see Helen is on the line from Oxford. Even though the Oxford Trail that they're building is not part of the Greenway, it will eventually connect. So we also submitted for construction of two sections, so for design and construction of two sections of trail along Route 67 that were part of the alternative transportation plan that we just did recently. So it's also a really interesting project, and hoping to sort of create more of a downtown feel in Oxford, which really doesn't have that right now.
It's incredible what's going on in Oxford, that whole project, the Haynes project,
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
Yeah, and the ones we put in for would continue from the section that they're building on their community connectivity to the Haynes boardwalk.
Yeah.
It's about 2 miles, I think.
I know we have the infrastructure bill. Anything to add there?
The guidance for the transportation alternatives program came out of March, I think it was. But it was basically what we had already known about, that more funding is available under the TA. They increased funding for a lot of federal aid programs by about 20 some odd %. TA went up 45%. So a lot more money is coming into Connecticut for this. Projects, our problem we always had is Waterbury is a small urbanized area, so we have to work through the state to get projects funded. That changed in the new bill. Small urbans also are sub-allocated directly, so we can select and program funds directly. The other thing that an interesting part is the state always had the opportunity to flex 50% of the TA money to some other program. And under the new infrastructure bill, they can't do that as easily. They can still flex it, but only if there's no other project that they could spend the money on. And not just this region, but every region throughout the state has more projects than they can fund. So they're going to have a hard time justifying flexing any of the TA money going forward, because there are too many projects available that they could allocate the funds to. So those are the key changes to the program.
Okay. Communities challenge, is a second round coming up?
Yes, I believe sometime mid-summer, probably July or so. I think the state's supposed to announce another $10 million round. We had submitted, working with Haynes again and towns of Seymour and Beacon Falls to sort of incentivize the TOD project if they want to build, in there. In our debrief with DECD, it may not be the best program for this project, because DECD is looking more at sort of infilling current, vacant land in downtown. This is sort of like a new outside of the downtown. There's it doesn't really fit the program. So we'll probably still put something together and submit it. But again, that a part of that was going to be, building the trail between downtown Seymour to downtown Beacon Falls. So again, it would have been a nice addition to the system.
Yeah, and in the first round, we sent the memo around to everybody because at least I thought, trails, especially in downtowns, would be a really good proposal. So we'll probably dust that off and send it around again when the second round comes out, but, I'd be happy to talk to anybody that is considering, we can definitely support an application.
Is that just for new construction or it could be, I'm thinking repaving existing?
Yeah.
fields? Can't do it?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
Again, the problem,
Craftsmanship straws.
Try.
Approaching that 17-year limit.
yeah, no, they usually want maintenance on the
Yeah.
responsibility of the towns.
Okay. All right, how about ARPA? Any communities doing anything with the ARPA funding for trails?
Not that I know of.
So that's a question for everybody on the line, really.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And I know, ARPA money can be used for trail development, so, or at least that was our take.
Well, and what I've heard too is our use of ARPA has gotten a lot more freer. They had some guidance early on. There was certain things you could use it for, not everything. But I think that they have determined that, a lot of cities and towns in the States are having a hard time spending the ARPA money for sort of resilience or recovery, things like that, because there wasn't as much need as they thought there was going to be. So they're allowing cities and towns to actually just use it for a lot of different things. So it's a lot of very, very flexible pot of money.
Let's make a note of that.
But yeah, the trails would be an eligible item because it's, again, what we found during the height of the pandemic and everything was closed down, the trails got very well used because we got people
Oh,
outdoors,
yeah.
we got them,
Going up.
so it's definitely seen as a legitimate activity to spend some money on.
And it's nice that we do have data for that, so it's
Yeah.
not just pulling numbers out of the hat.
Yeah,
We
and
got
it
the
wasn't
data.
just here. I mean, that we heard that,
Yeah.
from a lot of, nationwide.
Yeah.
That was what was happening.
All right, my thing, I don't see that it's as open a process. The towns seem to be holding it close to the vest rather than getting.
Well, I think the problem was they were concerned
Yeah.
that if they didn't spend it properly, they were going to be forced to pay it back. So I think a lot of towns have been kind of reluctant because they were, and guidance was floated around.
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah. And so, talk to John DeCarlo. He's been following ARPA here. He has a lot more information on the guidance.
Yeah, okay. And deep recreation trails?
Yeah, so I think I covered that already,
Yeah.
pretty much. It'll be $6 million, hopefully, if the bond commission releases it. Somebody from State Parks was on the Greenway's council meeting yesterday, and he said that State Parks in the budget had more funding than they've had in something like 40 years. So, and I think as a response to, the overuse of the state parks during COVID. But in the previous round, Deep took a big percentage of that rec trails money to do state projects. So now that they have a lot more funding, hopefully more of that $6 million will be available to communities to do projects. At least that's the hope. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on it and definitely let you all know. But we should probably all be thinking about, what we want to submit and start working on it because there's almost certainly going to be another round.
Any other opportunities out there that anyone wants to share? It's quite a list,
Yeah.
quite a list.
Can I ask a question? I think last time we talked about something called deep community connectivity. Is that a thing or?
I haven't heard whether they're going to have another round of community connectivity is again a state program that the legislature will authorize the bond commission to appropriate X amount of money. I forget how much it was last time, but it's for small improvements and safety improvements, like for sidewalks and short sections of trail, things like that, try to connect downtowns better and provide better safety. I haven't heard whether there's gonna be another round of that. It's possible, because it was a nice little program, and they've been able to,
I think Anna Bergeron is on. I don't know.
yeah, because I
Anna, if you're there. if you-
Yes, hi,
give a
everyone.
quick
This
update.
is Anna Bergeron. Yes, Mark, you're correct. This is all state bonded, it's state money. Because it is a great program that's worked out so well for municipalities in the state. We are looking to have round 4 be approved. Because it is state money and it is bonded, we don't know for sure 100% if it is going to get approval. We are hoping to. We will be submitting for next round. The last
how much
round,
do you think?
I don't know exactly. We could ask for 10, we can ask for 12 and get 5.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what the State Bond Commission decides to do. This last round, round 3, was just approved for, I believe, 8.5 million. It was 17 grants. We raised the threshold to $600,000 now from 400,000. So again, solicitations will be going out if we do get a new round of funding, probably end of the year at some point, maybe in the fall. Again, all subject to state bonding approval.
And who would the applications for that program go through?
The towns themselves directly.
They usually go to the towns. I think that's how they went out last time, or they went through the region to the towns, but I think it goes directly to the town.
No, it goes directly to the towns. And, but what we do here is when we hear about it, we also send out a notice to everybody, make sure they're aware of it, and then offer, assistance if anybody needs it.
Of course, yes. And it is a competitive grant process. So because of limited funding, every town is welcome to apply, but it is the towns that do apply are the towns that have, if they received a grant already, spent their money. So if this is going to be round 4 now, so if the town, say from round 1 or 2, has not completed their project and spend their money, they're not allowed to apply for the next round.
Derby got connectivity from round 1. I don't think they've built anything yet.
Really?
Yes. They're gonna do some improvements over, I can't remember, up along 34 there. I forget what the intersection is. But I thought I heard that it's in design, but it hasn't been built yet. And that's what Anna's talking about it. So if you haven't been able to spend previously, they're not, they're not gonna award again. So,
A new round of funds to the same town.
Yeah.
I have to see what I can find out. Part of the problem, Derby, there's gonna change in staff.
Yeah. I know Drew was working on trying to get it done, but again, it's just, you have to do the design in-house, and I thought they were working on the design, but I don't know the status. Karen might know better. I'll touch base with her.
Yeah, and I'll touch base with Walt May and see what he knows about it.
Yeah.
May not even know it's there.
I think we talked, because we had a briefing with Walt when he
Okay.
left, so.
I know he's been overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Okay, public outreach events. Anyone want to talk about events they have going on?
So this photo was from an Earth Day event that we attended in Ansonia. And we were there sort of to promote our composter and rain barrel sale, which all of you should check out on our website. So we had our composter and rain barrel there for people to look at. But I also brought some Greenway stuff, including one of the panels that we made for the interpretive signage a few years ago. And the Greenway was sort of as hot a topic as the rain barrel. So everybody wanted to talk about the Greenway. So I feel like we did a lot of sort of community engagement on the Greenway at that event, and also in Woodbury at their Earth Day event. So now that everybody's sort of starting to go back in person and start holding these events again, I just want to remind everyone that we have a lot of materials here that can be used. staff here, I don't want to do it every Saturday, but, we're happy to do events once in a while and help promote as well. So, keep us in mind. Like I said, we have those interpretive panels, we can print out reports and stuff like that. We have, all the reports that we've conducted are here. So if anyone wants to borrow stuff or have us attend, let us know.
Are there any events tied to Trail Day coming up in June? Anyone got anything going on there?
I know they're having an event in Groton. The state is DEP. I can send around that information. I didn't see the time yet, but it's on the Friday before Trails weekend.
And the new trail out there is getting a lot of use, right?
That's what I've heard, yeah.
So, okay, moving on, other business. I know Kevin's on the line and we've got Kennytown Dam in it. I don't know if Kevin's gonna do it or.
Yeah, Kevin, you wanna give an update?
It's kind of complicated, and Aaron, you need to, well, you were away for a week. There's a lot of development that's going on as we speak. A lot of it's heavy legal stuff. We have a scary situation because another player has jumped into the mix, and they've been brought into some very high-level FERC, Fish and Wildlife, and Deep meetings recently as a potential partner or buyer of the dam. If that takes place, it's anybody's guess that FERC is predisposed to reset the clock and start this whole process all over again. The current owner has met no demands that FERC, Fish and Wildlife, and Deep have placed that were not suggestions. They were actual orders to fix or start the process of engineering new fish passage at the dam. Now, yesterday, FERC Dam Safety, which is a separate total division from the fish passage compliance division, came down heavy on that dam and upgraded its hazard potential, which demanded that this new owner immediately within the next 60 days hire and reassess in an engineering manner all the downstream potential harm, the economic harm, if that dam was to be breached. They have to do a breach analysis. So there's some really serious stuff, but FERC in itself has proven itself very incompetent in this process and has given more than anybody ever would, more leniency, meaning their answer is, we'll have monthly meetings. Why don't you guys get together and have monthly meetings? That's quite literal. That's under the same breath at the beginning of the sentence when they scolded Natel last week saying, hey, you haven't done anything we said. We don't use those. We didn't say that as a suggestion. You are supposed to do that. Okay, let's meet. Why don't you guys meet monthly? Meanwhile, we lost the 2019 fish passage. We're losing and all but lost the 2022 fish passage, which they were supposed to at least have interim measures in place. This is the company. And now 2023 fish passage is in jeopardy because no engineering design has even been started, never mind implemented. So you could see it's a very complex process that this company has just stuck their finger in the eye of all of you, all the mayors and first selectmen of the 19 town cogs. They stuck their eye in fingers in FERC's eye, Fish and Wildlife, and Deep, and are getting away with it. And so, and now a new player called Naugatuck NRG, a startup company that has designed quote unquote fish friendly turbines wants their hands in it so they can make a name for themselves. So it's anybody's guess at this moment. We're all on the edge of our seats right now, waiting for certain pieces to fall into place. But it's both very exciting, very disturbing. This is we're trying to fix something for the next 1,000 years. It goes hand in hand with the Greenway. Aaron, I don't know what you want to add, or I can't get into certain strategy with you. But
yeah, I think
go ahead.
in summary, there hasn't been fish passage at all in the last 2 years. Neither turbine is producing energy there. Even though the dam owner keeps saying, yeah, we're 2 weeks away from restarting this, unit 1, and that's been going on for a year. So it hasn't produced energy in, almost 2 years now.
In violation of their compliance, both units should be, and since 2010, out of compliance now, since 2010.
We've asked FERC to take a sort of stronger stance and either fine them every day that it's out of compliance or move to revoke their license exemption. But that's we're going to still keep pushing for that, and hopefully that will force some action there. But we've been following it and very closely, and we're hoping to see a resolution soon.
And now we have that safety issue that came down hard yesterday on Hydroland.
So all the requirements that have already been imposed on the dam are going to be very costly. But this new item of considering it a significant hazard dam will force them to also do a hazard emergency action plan, and do a lot of study and engineering study on the dam to see what would happen if it did breach, and sort of lay out the dangers downstream, and have a plan in hand in case that ever happened, to go downstream and warn everybody basically. So that's another very expensive proposition, and we're hoping that all of these sort of more and more expensive things makes this company reconsider what they're doing there.
Without sanctions, so it doesn't.
It sounds like an enforcement action.
Yeah.
Either they enforce their rules or they don't. So, well, wish you the best of luck to get that straightened out one way or the other. It's been a long process. You've made incredible progress to this point, but again, they've got to enforce their own rules. So, all right, why don't we move on? Yeah, I see you've got it on here.
Yeah.
Envision.
Envision. So this is our regional conference that we're going to be holding in September. We were originally supposed to have it in March. We postponed it due to COVID. So we have a new date, September 13th, 8 to 2. It's really sort of to highlight some of the work that we do here, but to also talk about some of the issues in the region. And everybody's invited. It's open to the public. I'm hoping that we can have a Greenway table at least set up. So if anybody's interested in staffing that for at least part of the day, let me know. We can put out a bunch of materials and try to inform our CEOs a little bit, and all of the people that'll be at the conference about the Greenway.
Where is it going to be?
It's going to be at the Palace Theater in Waterbury.
And don't forget the best part. We have been working. Aaron and Kate, our communications guru, has been working very hard on creating a short video about recreational trails in the region. That's going to be featured there. We already have some great footage and have done interviews with actually some of you here. And we are continuing as it becomes spring and the trails become more beautiful to gather footage for that video, which of course we will probably debut at Envision, but then will become available afterwards to help promote the trails.
Thanks, Christine.
We're good. Okay, anything else for the good of the order? if not, a motion to adjourn and invite anyone who would like to join us. How far away are we from our destination for the tour?
We're about 10 minutes away.
10
We're not
minutes?
far at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 2095 South Main Street, which is, or was, is it still American Copy?
American Copies right on the corner of Pearl Lake
Pearl
Road
Lake,
and
yeah.
South Main.
Just for the planning, is there anyone online who's going to be attending that? So if not, then we wouldn't wait for you.
You're on your own.
Just being honest about it.
So, I actually, at that Woodbury Earth Day event, I saw Ingrid Manning was
Oh,
there.
yeah, okay.
So I had a nice long conversation with her. She sends her best to all of you, but she said she might be joining.
Great.
Okay.
I'll be there.
Okay,
Kevin will be there. All right.
we have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Go for it.
Do you want a second?
Second, yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? No one? All right, we're adjourned at 10:15. Not bad. Covered a lot of ground.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, hope to see some of you out on the new section of Waterbury.
Thank you.
All right.